where we're at right now. Boom.
Amazing.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words, tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Friday. We got a great show for you all today. Wow. So, hey, look at that. We've already got a Twitch raid. So thank you, Mini Morpho, for the Twitch raid. Hello, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Thank you so much for the subscription at Tier 1. And Individualism Killed the Cat. So thank you. This is already an awesome day. Hello, Twitch fam. As I said, love you guys. YouTube as well. So look, we got new shirts up. It's like all of this stuff is coincidental, but also turns out to be kind of awesome. So we've got like new merch up. I'm still working on like expanding the options, colors, availability, and stuff of all that. And then we've got some icons that I'm working on as well for channel members. So it's a lot of good lot of good stuff today for members, people who support the show. A lot of different ways that you can do so. That said, we got stories. We got news, right? So we've got interesting news from Georgia as well as from Michigan. We're going to talk about that. We've got Eric Trump having his praise of Rudy Giuliani backfire in his face. That's fun. Ivanka Trump not happy. The mask has slipped. We've got landlords that are using dirty tricks to kick people out during this pandemic. And then finally, of course, AOC takes Republicans to task over the stimulus, the rejection of stimulus measures. So we got a good show today. We got a lot of stuff. So let's do it. Before you do, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. All right, let's dive in. We have a little bit of breaking news. Georgia is set to officially certify its election results later today and confirm that, yes, Joe Biden is indeed the winner of the state. So now Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, again, he's a Republican. He's actually kind of sad that Donald Trump lost, but he's like, hey, dude, numbers are numbers, all right? Numbers are numbers, and we can't exactly lie about the numbers. It turns out that Joe Biden just got more votes. Sad. And he's actually been getting a lot more, a lot of death threats from Trump supporters. And I talked about that the other day. So now Raffensperger is set to officially certify this election later on this afternoon. I think it's somewhere around 5 p.m. Eastern. So on that, he said at a morning news conference, quote, I live by the motto that numbers don't lie. I mean, that's fairly simple, right? And he said, he followed up by saying, I believe that the numbers that we have presented today are correct. So this comes after a recount in Georgia where they did a hand count, a hand recount, I should say, of the 5 million ballots that were sent in. And so this was requested by the Trump campaign. So Raffensperger, of course, did this recount. And Trump, look, the Trump campaign, since they were really, really close in Georgia, it's a very, very tight race. They had a right to request a recount. No problem with that, right? Yeah, go ahead, recount the votes. In fact, I encourage you to do so because then we get the pleasure of seeing Donald Trump lose twice. But you know what? Interestingly enough, Donald Trump actually did better this time after all the votes were counted. In fact, before, Biden had a lead of about 14,000 votes. At the end, he actually had a lead of about 12,000. So they found almost about 2,000 votes that were not counted for Donald Trump, but not enough to overturn the election results, obviously. So now there are other states, by the way, that Donald Trump has also contesting, other than, of course, Georgia. And these states are going to certify very, very shortly. For example, on Monday, you have Michigan. Let's see. Also, you have Pennsylvania that happens to get certified on Monday. Then you have November 30th and December 1st in Arizona, Nevada, and Wisconsin. So now, as I said before, the recount found about 2,000 votes additional for Donald Trump. But at the end of the day, Joe Biden's the winner. Joe Biden gets those 16 electoral college votes. So, again, sad day for Trump, right? That said, the Trump campaign is still trying to do some shenanigans in Pennsylvania and Michigan. So now, in Michigan, it's actually a little bit more difficult because you have a count that, a result where you had Biden getting over 157,000 more votes than Donald Trump. I don't think you're going to find enough votes, enough ballots to overturn that. That is a massive, massive advantage. Again, we look at 12,000 votes in Georgia as like, oh man, that's pretty much insurmountable. Well, now you look at 157,000. No, there's no way. There's no way. They're not going to find enough about that. And look, what they tried to do already, and I've talked about this on previous episodes here, that they tried to not certify the results in Wayne County. Wayne County, of course, is the home of Detroit. Detroit is about 80% black, or 80 to 85% black. I'm not quite sure on the number. They didn't want to certify Wayne County, but then they would go and certify Livonia, which is like 90% white suburb. And so that's racism in action right there. So that said, now he knows he's not going to win the state by like normal means. So now they have a plan to get the electors in Michigan to just ignore the will of the people and vote for Trump anyway. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. So that's what's going on here. He wants to have the state that he did not win get handed to him anyway, just like everything else has always been handed to him in his entire life. And he's counting on these state Republican leaders to do it. So now that leads to Republican State Senator Mike Shirkey and Republican Representative Lee Chatfield, who now have agreed to meet with President Donald Trump. And that, of course, is scheduled today. So now what are they going to talk about? I mean, look, there's no evidence of voter fraud. In fact, every single law challenge that has been levied about voter fraud has been rejected by the court. Sometimes the court, like the judge will just look at it and they'll be like, this is garbage. What is this? Like you have no evidence whatsoever. And of course, you can lie to Fox News, you can lie to Republicans, conservatives all day. You can make up things on Twitter and tweet them out, and Twitter will be like, oh, whoa, this information is disputed. But when it comes to a judge, you can't lie to a judge. You can't lie under oath. And so that's why they haven't been able to win any sort of court case. Look, even Giuliani is going into the court and not outright saying, oh, we have massive evidence of fraud. Why you can't do that? It's because you will get in trouble. So that said, he's trying to, again, meet with these Republicans, and these Republican leaders are meeting with him. And what's interesting about this is that this meeting with Trump is basically contrary to what Shirkey's position had on Tuesday. Here's what he said, quote, "That's not going to happen. We are going to follow the law and follow the process." Then why the hell are you meeting with Donald Trump? What are you going to talk about? You need to talk about certifying the election results? They need to be certified. Now, 157,000 votes with no evidence of voter fraud. What are you doing meeting with him? Now, I've read some articles where there's some speculation of like, well, I mean, either Shirkey and these Republicans are incredibly afraid of the militant base in Michigan for Donald Trump, which certainly could be a factor. It also could be a factor that maybe Donald Trump intends to try to bribe these congressmen. As we know, Donald Trump is transactional. We don't necessarily know, but they want someone who is willing to help him steal the election. And there is no process that allows for someone to legally steal an election. And so now I've got a video here of some of the backlash that Shirkey has seen. And let me just show you that.
What did Trump promise you? What did Trump promise you?
Where's the fraud? Where's the evidence of fraud? Where's the evidence of fraud? Where is the evidence of fraud? Tom, shame on you. Certify the results. Certify the results. Congressman Barrett.
Certify the results.
Meeting. Certify the results. Certify the results. Why are you meeting? Certify the results.
Yeah. So that went well. No, but seriously, I think there should have been a lot more people there because they are literally trying to steal our democracy. By hook or by crook, man. That's what they're going to do it. He's inviting legislators to a state where he lost by a massive amount to try to bribe them into handing over my state to somebody who's a loser. And if they do, these Republicans are 100% corrupt and need to be removed, and not just removed, but charged. And we're not going to play around with fascists, all right? And if you're somebody who supports this coup, well, then that's exactly what you are. You're a criminal, you're un-American, you're a fascist. Am I clear? All right. So let's go from that to Eric Trump. He's the dumb one. All right. Following the disastrous press conference involving Rudy Giuliani spouting nonsense conspiracy theories while simultaneously melting, Eric Trump decided to tweet, and, well, it backfired. So here's what he tweeted. Giuliani took down the New York mob. He'll take down these dirtbags as well. Dirtbags? Oh, wait. What are you talking about? Joe Biden? The voters didn't vote for Donald Trump? I mean, that'd be a lot of dirtbags. I mean, who exactly are you talking about? Who's they? Again, it's conspiracy theories. Everywhere. Now, if you ask me, the real dirtbags are the people who are trying to overturn and steal a legitimate election where the people voted against you. Overturning a free and fair election is kind of a dirtbag thing to do. Well, actually, dirtbag's a little too nice, a little too mild. It's a fascist thing to do. But, you know, I say potato, you say voter fraud, whatever. Now, on Twitter, people realize that this could be interpreted as a little bit of a self-own. So now they warned Eric to be careful what he wishes for. So we'll start out with a tweet here from Travis Bone. It's a great name. More like drag you down with him. Hey man, look, Eric's ride or die. I mean, you can see it on his face. And that's of course because nobody else wants him. He's not exactly the most intelligent alpha Chad around. You know what I'm saying? This guy's more like a sidekick, like an Igor or a Salacious B. Crumb. That's Eric Trump. He just kind of goes along with it. He's like, yeah, daddy. Yeah, that's just a great idea. Yeah. Ugh. No. We got another one here. The chocolate tart says, the funniest bit is that you were paying him to take you, the dirtbags, down. And then reiterates, you were the dirtbags. I really like how the person had to spell it out for Eric, because we know he's not the brightest bulb, not the sharpest knife. You get it. He's dumb. Kelly says, reminder, he almost took his pants down too. Oh, Rudy. I'm both simultaneously amazed and also not surprised that Rudy Giuliani was punked by Sacha Baron Cohen as Borat. I mean, that's like, okay, when I first got into politics, I never would have seen that coming. I mean, ask me from like 2014 where I'm like still doing like panel shows and I'm like, oh man, these Republicans are crazy. I mean, look at like Sarah Palin. I mean, she's kind of nuts. I mean, nobody's ever going to top that. 2020 me is like, hold my beer. Oh my God. All right. So there's more. Peter Curry said, agreed, he is doing a great job of taking down the Trump family. I mean, is he though? I mean, okay, think about it this way. Rudy Giuliani's had failed lawsuit after failed lawsuit, right? So you might think, okay, well, he's failed. What's the problem? I mean, and it's not just fail, by the way. Like, these are getting literally tossed out of court. A judge will look at it and say, what is this? What is this? What is this? You don't have any evidence. Stop wasting my time. But understand that there's a method to the madness. Okay? Giuliani and Trump are trying to stir up so much bullshit, garbage, that the Republican electors in the states, and by the way, there are millions and millions of people now, Republicans, who believe that this election has been stolen from them, that there's just massive amounts of voter fraud. Okay? And these Republicans are now going to push their elected officials, elected Republicans, into supporting Donald Trump. Again, what we're seeing in Michigan, we've got two Michigan congressmen that are meeting with Donald Trump in Washington right now. What are they talking about? Look, Donald Trump lost by 157,000 votes in Michigan. He lost in Georgia by 12,000 votes. Lost in Pennsylvania, thousands of votes. Again, why are you trying to get the results overturned? That, you know, if like you don't have any evidence to prove fraud, you don't have like a basis to go and challenge the election results. You don't have any proof. You don't have any proof. But again, they don't need proof, because they're going to go to the Republicans and say, you should support us anyway. In fact, they spell it out. Here is Donald Trump's, one of his lawyers, not Rudy Giuliani, but one of his lawyers talking about exactly what they want to do.
The entire election, frankly, in all the swing states should be overturned, and the legislatures should make sure that the electors are selected for Trump.
That the electors are selected for Trump. That is over the will of the people. They're stealing an election, and it's right in front, and they're literally telling us that's exactly what they're doing. No, all electors should go right for Donald Trump. Why? You didn't win. The electors should go for Biden in the states where Biden has won. That's like us going to Florida and being like, no, you know, I know that Donald Trump got more votes, but we don't like that result. And so, you know, congressmen in Florida, we think that you should overturn the will of the people and cast your electoral votes for Joe Biden. Imagine if they did that. If Democrats tried to, they would get laughed out of court. And yet the Republicans, they're literally trying to do this. No, insanity. I mean, let's just take over. That's what they're saying. A literal take over the country. And look, that's against the law. You can't just declare a president. Okay? This is like Juan Guaido, right? Trying to take over. Just being like, I declare myself president of Venezuela. No, you can't do that. You can't just come in and declare yourself the winner when you obviously did not win. It's insane. It's insane. And look, we are facing a group of people that are deeply incompetent, and lucky so. But the next time, the next group of fascists, if we can get through this, the next group of fascists will not be incompetent. They will be competent fascists. So, but there's more. I'm sorry for bringing things down, but Suzanne Kilgallen says, he misquoted my cousin Vinny and had hair dye running down his face. But you're right. Formidable foe. And then finally, Wanda Troll says, careful what you wish for, Eric. Indeed. Indeed. Because I really do hope the system does work and that Eric Trump and the rest of the Trump family do go down. All right. Moving on. First out, Ivanka Trump is throwing a little bit of a fit as a result of several investigations into potential fraud. So now on Thursday, she posted an angry tweet complaining about two different New York-based investigations into the Trump organization's shady tax practices. So now let me give you one of the issues here. The Trump organization had apparently written off a payment of $747,622 in consulting fees. Okay. Oh, look, companies can write off consulting fees all the time. What's the problem? Well, it just happened to match a $747,622 payment made the same year to a consulting company. Again, not a problem. But was co-owned by Ivanka Trump. So she is literally getting paid to consult her own family. Huh. Weird. In fact, according to the New York Times, Ms. Trump was executive officer of the Trump companies that made the payments, meaning she appears to have been treated as a consultant while also working for the company itself. Fascinating. Now, while companies can deduct professional fees, as I mentioned, the IRS requires that consulting arrangements be market-based and reasonable, as well as ordinary and necessary to running a business. So now, what kind of consulting advice did Ivanka Trump give that was worth about $750,000? That must be the greatest advice in the world, let me tell you. No, it was look, she's putting the money in her pocket while also allowing the Trump organization to not pay taxes. I mean, it's super, super obvious. And look, the IRS does sometimes reject attempts to write off consulting fees if they were meant to avoid taxes. And so they didn't. Now, look, we know that the Trump organization has done everything they can to avoid paying taxes, as a lot of companies do. And in America, a lot of them get away with it. Why? Because our tax codes are basically Swiss cheese. You have corporations and you have wealthy donors that pay our politicians in order to gut the tax code so that most of the tax burden tends to fall on people who are middle class, not the wealthiest corporations. That's why Jeff Bezos can pay like zero in taxes, more than the freaking secretary. Okay. And so that's a huge problem. And so to see the Trump organization is taking advantage of some of these loopholes and also just doing straight up fraud is not shocking, is not surprising. Nonetheless, there it is. And the Southern District of New York decides that they finally want to look into it. Well, that's good, right? So now the Trump organization, they've been not paying a lot of taxes. Now, they've been getting away with it because they've been, well, look, Trump's a terrible businessman. All of his businesses are hemorrhaging cash, like massively. And so, yeah, he's a terrible businessman. And he goes and cries about, oh my God, look at how much money I'm losing. I need to write this off of my taxes. But then, of course, he'll inflate his assets, as we learned from the tax returns released by Mary Trump earlier this year, that he also inflates his assets in order to get loans. And he'll get loans from places like Deutsche Bank, which is basically known as the laundromat of the world. Because they do so much money laundering, they funded terror groups. I mean, just like anybody under the sun, they will give them money. Even an idiot like Donald Trump. And so it's not a surprise to see them skirting tax laws. And so to also see them using these, consulting fees in order to basically cut their own taxes and then to put money back in Ivanka's pocket isn't really a shocker. So now the interesting thing is, since it is the Southern District of New York, well, it's not a federal investigation, which means Donald Trump can't interfere. Oh, good. Oh, I love it. I love it. So now that, of course, has Ivanka's underwear in a little bit of a knot. No pardons. No pardon for you. Okay, you don't get one. So here's what she said on Twitter. Quote, "This is harassment, pure and simple. This inquiry by New York City Democrats is 100% motivated by politics, publicity, and rage. They know very well that there's nothing here and that there was no tax benefit whatsoever. These politicians are simply ruthless." Oh my God. There was no tax benefit except for me putting $750,000 in my pocket. None at all. No benefit. No benefit at all. And it was just a write-off for consulting. Well, again, what does Ivanka actually do? What does she know? She's not a very successful business person. Okay, just like your father. Okay, what does she know about business? Nothing. Nothing. Look, do you remember? What does she know about anything? Again, do you remember the time when she embarrassed herself at the G20? When she tried to like talk, she tried to hobnob with like important world leaders and just embarrassed the hell out of herself. In fact, here is that. Take a look.
Yes, but there's a lot of social justice. And if
It's all, yeah.
As soon as you start talking about the economic aspect of it, though,
Yeah.
a lot of people start listening who wouldn't
Start
otherwise
listening.
listen.
And the same with the defense side of it.
Yeah.
In terms of the whole sort of ecosystem. It's been very male dominated. So
Joke. Look, nobody takes her seriously because there's nothing to take her seriously at all for. She's a nepotism hire. And she's all about breaking tax laws in order to put money back into her pocket, just like daddy, like daughter. Disastrous. All right. I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We've got a story about some landlords. We're going to take it off the Trump family, the Trump crime family. And we're going to go to how landlords are fucking over people. Really, really disastrous story. And then we'll go back to AOC. Stay right here. Couple minutes. We'll be right back around the nation.
I have not loved this conversation.
I will eat your ass.
Why, you're getting nervous, man.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you today. So, let's get to thanking some channel memberships as well as some patrons. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. I want to thank Dean Uhera and Nicholas Beard. So, thank you. Again, you can sign up to be a patron, support independent progressive media. Let's see. Let's go to other things. Channel members, again, let's thank Victoria Seeley and Charles Wilson. All right, awesome. Let's check Twitch over here for a second. Thank you for all of those new follows. That's super awesome. 200. All right. Let's go to the next story. With coronavirus surging and no more stimulus, and the economy that is continuing to struggle, the number of homeless people has unsurprisingly increased, even in places where you have eviction bans that have been upheld locally during this crisis. So now wait, then how come if we have a national moratorium on evicting people, then how is it that more homeless people or more people are being made homeless? Well, it turns out that landlords have been getting a little crafty and been figuring out ways in order to kick people out without violating these eviction bans. So now, according to renters nationwide, landlords have been skirting COVID-19 eviction moratoriums by doing such tactics such as changing locks, removing trash containers so that people have nowhere to put their trash, and in one case, literally unbolting a door right off an apartment. Oh, great. Awesome. So now these people had told state attorneys general that they were kicked out of their homes after landlords had accused them of petty violations. For example, smoking cigarettes inside the unit, which they may or may not have done, or failing to take the hitches off mobile homes. So this is like real dirty, underhanded stuff. And so the reason, of course, is, hey man, look, you can't pay the rent, so I'm gonna kick you out. That's it. Like, and since I can't legally kick you out because of coronavirus, and that's the reason, of course, why a lot of people have fallen behind on the rent to begin with, then I'm gonna just invent ways to do it. Haha, take that. So now, one person, Heidi Statch, was one of those people that ended up losing her apartment. She lost her job due to the pandemic and fell behind on her rent, as millions of Americans have, sadly. She says that her landlord had found an end run to Wisconsin's eviction ban. See, instead of starting a court process, he instead sent her a notice to vacate this summer because he decided not to renew her lease. And that's just one of the different tactics they use that is now becoming widespread as we continue to not have any sort of stimulus to help regular people. So now Eric Dunn, director of litigation at the National Housing Law Project, points this out. He said that since the pandemic started, the courts had frozen their dockets and had moratoriums. We've seen a huge spike in tactics from landlords to get people out, including changing locks, cutting off utility service, refusing to make repairs, making threats, providing misinformation, and any other creative way to accuse someone of lease violations that fit the exceptions in the moratorium. So they are really, really trying to figure this out. They will go through and they'll say, okay, can't kick them out for this, this, or this, or this, but we can for this. So now tricks and intimidation behind the scenes, of course, add to more overt efforts by landlords to legally evict tenants. With statewide bans largely expired and federal protection from the Centers for Disease Control Prevention moratorium nearing its final days, according to HuffPost, tenant advocates like Dunn fear things will only get worse. USA Today also reviewed hundreds of complaints about landlords filed this summer by consumers with attorneys general in 7 different states, including Maryland, Missouri, Ohio, Washington State, and Wisconsin. Landlords, they told the state agencies, hiked rents during the pandemic. What? Now understand how like disgusting that is, right? So now we're in an economic slowdown. We've had, these lockdowns, which have closed restaurants. People are laying off. Some small businesses are actually going out of business. And the response from some of these landlords is to go, I'm gonna increase the rent. I want more money. Wait, and these are people, of course, that lost their jobs in a lot of cases. Now, these people, again, couldn't pay their rent, couldn't pay their utility bills. And so these same landlords would then skip out on basic maintenance and letting conditions, of course, deteriorate in those places, leaving renters a choice between leaving on their own or living with mold outbreaks and infestations of bed bugs, roaches, and maggots. Jesus. And a lot of these tenants, by the way, they tried to get help from the local government. And the government said, we can't, we don't have any, there's no way for us to help you. Sorry, you're pretty much on your own. And so they said that they couldn't help because wrongful evictions, that's what this would be, considered as, had to be fought in court. Well, the problem with that, of course, is that if you're somebody who lost your job and couldn't afford to pay your rent, you really think that you could afford to take this to court? Oh, yeah, no, let me just reach deep right up into my ass and pull out, $200 an hour for a fucking lawyer. No, that's insane. Whereas these landlords likely are companies that have legal representation at the ready. They can afford to do this. And so they can afford to defend themselves in court. And so if you can't fight it, you're going to get evicted. And then you're not going to be able to have any place to live, which happened to lots of people. One of them, Tasha Tavener, she said that she ended up taking her and her 4 children and camping out in the woods after she lost her job. And so she was the one who had actually witnessed men pull the door off the front of her apartment to prevent her from living there. Jesus. Others, like elderly residents on Social Security, people who are unemployed, single mothers especially, said that they were pushed into homelessness where they could not even take basic steps to protect themselves against the coronavirus, which is, the whole reason why we're all in this position to begin with. COVID. I mean, it's horrifying. Now, Stotch, going back to her, now she's the mother of a 15-year-old daughter with special needs, with disabilities. So she couldn't pay her rent. Her rent is about $850. She came up short, and she said, look, hey, look, I can't pay you the whole thing, but maybe let me try to pay you as much as I can until we start to get this thing, start to get back up to work and so I can make my income again. Just please, we got nowhere to go. And again, she was just given orders to get out. I will not renew your lease. She said, quote, it was devastating. I was confused and I was crying and it felt like I was having a panic attack. I lost my job and now I had to basically beg someone to let us live somewhere instead of a homeless shelter. Which again, not a good place if you're trying to avoid coronavirus. Now, she was able to eventually get a job, but because of the actions of the landlord, she took a hit on her credit, for one, and she ended up having to move across town. So she had to take her daughter out of the school, change school districts, which again is difficult for somebody normally, but now even more so with someone who has special needs. And then she actually had to pay more for the same kind of apartment. She had to pay a higher price. She said, quote, in the middle of this, it's a lot to pay for rent, plus a new security deposit on such short notice while everyone is still freaking out about the pandemic. I mean, it's horrifying. And so now one big reason, again, why this is happening, other than the existence of coronavirus, is the fact that the government, the federal government, is not helping the states. They are not giving the states money and municipalities money, and they're not giving the people money. Okay. And so not only that, but those eviction moratoriums have ended. They actually ended back in July. And so we haven't had a stimulus package or anything to renew that stuff since then. You had the extended unemployment benefits that had ran out back in July 31st. Now you had that, the moratoriums, end on July 25th. And then we've been going for months and months without any sort of additional stimulus. Is it any wonder why people are suffering? Is it any wonder why people are losing their homes? Why they're getting tossed out in the streets in the snow, having to camp out in the woods, getting, or living in a place that obviously doesn't want them, dealing with mold and pests. It's disgusting. Just horrible. And look, you had state bans as well, but even those state bans had ended over the summer or in fall. And now, of course, we have this new COVID surge, and we still have nothing. And there was one thing that was protecting some of these people that was enacted on September 4th. This is the CDC. And they had this order that basically had one goal: prevent evictions for non-payment of rent during the pandemic. And obviously, as you can see from the story, it wasn't at all effective. And it's because the CDC's rule is full of exemptions and legal definitions that are a bit tricky. They're tricksy. The current CDC order, for example, set to expire on December 31st, specifies that evictions for non-payment of rent can be prevented if renters fill out a form declaring that they make less than $99,000, are trying to make partial payments, and would likely be homeless if evicted. Rent still accrues and is due eventually. So that's the other thing. It is not a cancellation of rent. It just says, well, you don't have to pay it now, but it all adds up later. Oh, great. So you're starting from behind. And then when you're done with this pandemic, you're still going to be even farther behind. Now, that CDC order does come with criminal penalties for people who, landlords specifically, that kick people out unlawfully. But neither the agency nor the Department of Justice had answered any questions on whether a single landlord had been prosecuted under these laws. That order also offers 5 other reasons evictions can move forward: criminal activity, threats to other residents, damage to property, violation of building codes, and this one's important, or violation of any other aspect on a lease. You know that they can put pretty much anything in a lease, right? So some of the limits, for example, is like, oh, you can't have somebody stay over for that long. If you stay more than 2 days in a row or 3 days in a row, you are considered to be living there. Then, well, if we find that somebody's there in that apartment, sad day for you, we'll kick you out. In fact, Dunn said landlords could find ways to use those exemptions to evict a non-paying renter. For example, people that add a satellite dish. That's a lease violation in some places. Or when a boyfriend stays over more nights than allowed. If a landlord truly wants to evict someone, says Andrew Arend, you know they can find a reason. And of course they will. They absolutely will. And the thing is, again, the only policies that we can do, like, that would actually stop this, unfortunately, we're not doing. We need cash assistance from the government in order to, get to these people. We need to cancel the rents and the mortgages. We need $2,000 a month for UBI for every single person. We need reinstatement of $600 benefits per month for people who are unemployed. Additionally, that's what we need. That's what we need, and we're not getting it. And I don't think we're going to get it. And look, right now, everybody's getting screwed. Okay, you've got tenants that can't pay. We've got some landlords who might actually be decent people, not these guys. These are shit people. But I can't go and say that all 100% of every single landlord is a terrible person and isn't trying to, at least work with their tenants that can't pay to try to figure things out. I'm thinking of like the elderly couple that, had an additional home and they were like, oh, we'll let someone live in there and, all that and we'll fix it up and all that stuff. I'm not thinking of like the faceless corporation that is likely doing most of these things, or the vindictive person that doesn't care, or the slumlord owner like Jared Kushner, who, by the way, is also trying to kick people out of his apartment complex that he owns, and using these similar methods. And look, let me give you some more examples of shitty landlords while I'm on that, right? USA Today's review of complaints filed with various state attorneys general showed landlords across the country attempted to raise rents on financially struggling tenants, as I mentioned before, and then turned to extreme measures to evict them when they couldn't pay. One Missouri renter said she was forced to leave her apartment during the pandemic after her landlord raised the rent about $35 a month and a monthly dog fee by about $5. Well, I mean, so it's an extra $40 a month. For people on Social Security and disability, people who are elderly, well, that might be a little too much. So there's that. Others in the state complained of steeper hikes despite job losses and hardships. Near the Ozarks, for example, residents of a shuttered 9-hole golf resort that was converted into an apartment complex say that their landlord didn't just, increase it by, $40 or $50 or $100. No. Their rent was tripled. They not only tripled the rent, but then threatened people with eviction and had them work under the table to repair the derelict units in order to pay off their debt. Really? Okay. Now, the former timeshare property, by the way, had been neglected for years. They had mold on the stairs, ceilings, curtains. Residents complained to the state about holes in the walls and the floor where roaches, ants, and bed bugs were found. Another tenant lived in a 2-bedroom unit for 2 years when it changed ownership at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. In February, that tenant lost her job and was struggling to make the $75 a month rent and asked if she could split it into 2 different installments. Hey, I'll pay the first now, and then I'll pay the rest later this month. That landlord, instead of working with her, said, no, we're going to email you a notice to vacate, and then tripled the rent to $1,500 a month. And then, again, she had to either pay it or get the fuck out. And so those are some examples of the complaints that we are seeing from people who, again, lost their job through no fault of their own, entered tough times because of this coronavirus pandemic, and are now suffering for it. Garbage people. And I understand, like, you can't just live somewhere for free. I get that. I get that some landlords have bills to pay. I totally understand that. That's why, again, I'm calling for not only a cancellation of rent, but a cancellation of mortgages as well. And a $2,000 a month UBI for every single person. That way, bills still get paid. The mortgages, again, you don't have to pay on the mortgage. So somebody who's a person who rents out these apartments doesn't have to pay on that. And it doesn't accrue. No, literally, it's frozen. It does not add up. It doesn't accrue. And so that really, in my mind, the only way we're going to be able to get through this pandemic is if we do something like that. Because if we don't, again, within the next month or so, we could see up to 20 to 30 million people get evicted. And again, during a pandemic, anytime people are evicted, it's horrible. But then, like, now you have a pandemic. Now it's even worse. Now they're going to spread the virus around. And everybody, again, is falling behind. Republicans in Congress have left us high and dry after presiding over the massive transfer of wealth to rich people and corporations. Renters are screwed. Some landlords are screwed. Local businesses are screwed. And attempts to control the virus also screwed. Everybody's screwed. Homeless camps, for example, are not places that are known for being super neat and tidy and free of disease. And again, all of this could be avoided if we actually had a government that worked for us. Because even though, again, it's bad right now, it's going to get worse. And really, the only thing that's standing in the way is corporate Democrats and Republicans, Mitch McConnell. All right. Ooh. So let's go to Republicans and stimulus. How's that going? Not well. Not well. And AOC's got some words. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently took on Republicans in a recent tweet. So now, first, she criticized President Trump's economic advisor, Stephen Moore. Now, Stephen Moore is not interested in Congress passing another coronavirus stimulus. In fact, here's what he said, according to Jeff Stein, who was the White House economics reporter for the Washington Post. Quote, I don't see Republicans budging on the blue state bailout. Blue state. Let me tell you something. All right. We bail out the red states all the time. I thought it's supposed to be the United States, not blue states, red states, whatever, right? I thought we're all supposed to help each other. Oh, but I guess when it comes to Republicans, they don't want to help anyone else but themselves. But they'll gladly take money from New York and California. California is like the third biggest economy in the world. I mean, no blue state bailout. Let me tell you, I don't want to bail out them blue states. No, ridiculous. All right, so that said, here's what he said on this. The economy is doing fine, much better than expected. Oh, yes, very, very fine, very fine. In fact, so much so that in Stein's own report, he notes that between the end of September and the end of October, the number of Americans saying it was very difficult to pay their usual household expenses actually rose by not 2.3%. No, by more than 2.3 million to now 34.8 million. So you got over 30 million people that are like, it's getting real hard to pay the bills. Like this is not a good situation. But Stephen Moore says, it's fine. The economy's doing fine. We're fine. Now, AOC had some problems with that. Responding to Moore's comment, AOC posted a tweet which read, 30 million people in this country at risk of eviction. Millions of people are unemployed or underemployed from cutback hours. The economy is not the stock market. We are not doing fine. People need help in red states and blue. Our job is to help everyone. This is basic. But apparently, Stephen Moore is a basic bitch and doesn't understand what it's like to be someone who is not super wealthy. And look, Stephen Moore has probably never met or talked to or cared about a person who was poor or working class in his entire life. He's doing good. So he thinks, well, everybody else is doing good. I mean, I'm doing great. Why isn't everybody in my social circle is doing fantastic? I don't understand who needs help. I mean, yeah, we could use more help, actually. We could use more tax cuts. No. So now, to follow that up, AOC then tweets yesterday, because the first one was from Wednesday. Yesterday, she said, to get the virus under control, we need to pay people to stay home. Now, I've been saying that for a while. We've all been, progressives have been saying that, right? A lot of them. Because it's like, hey, we're not going to control the virus unless we actually have a robust lockdown of about 3 to 4 weeks where we pay people to stay home. I know Republicans are like, they go apoplectic when you talk about, oh my God, pay people to stay home. Why would we ever pay people to stay home? Because we have a pandemic that is spread between people when people congregate in groups or they go to work and share a workspace. That makes the virus spread around and then you bring it home. The virus doesn't stay at work when you leave. No, it comes home with you and you spread it to your grandma, your aunt and uncle, your family, your friends. You spread it around your community and then your community gets sick. They rush to hospitals. The hospitals can't handle the strain and the whole healthcare system tends to fall apart at that point. So, yes, you want to pay people to stay home. How is that a difficult concept? Again, only during a pandemic, that's what you want. Until the pandemic is solved, you pay people to stay home. Not a hard concept. But anyway, they don't understand this. They don't get it. They don't get it. So now, obviously, I'm going to show you a good example of them not getting it. Here's Nikki Haley. Here's what she said. AOC, are you suggesting you want me to pay people to stay home from the money you take from defunding the police? Or was that from student debts you wanted to pay off? Or the Green New Deal? Or Medicare for all? Hashtag, where's the money? You realize that the government is a lender of student loans, right? They lend out the money. So it's the taxpayer. They can just cancel out the debt. It's not like it's a private bank, where people are borrowing money from, and you got to pay the bank for canceling out that debt. It's literally the government's taxpayer money. They do it all the time. They cancel debts. So yes, you could absolutely, you don't have to go and find money to cancel student loan debt. You can just go boop, 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 canceled. That's it. That's it. It's not difficult. Okay. But no, she doesn't get it. But hey, if you want to find money, by the way, okay, well, let's look at the tax cuts for the rich that you doled out like candy in 2017. We can start there. We can start by canceling that. Okay. Bringing ending the tax cuts for the rich and actually making them pay their fair share. Well, there you go. That's one way if you really want to, quote unquote, find money. But no, of course not. Here's what AOC said in response to that. Nikki, I'm suggesting Republicans find the spine to stand up to their corporate donors and vote for the same measures they did back in March, except without the Wall Street bailout this time. I love how she mentions that. And look, she also adds, I know you're confused about actual governance, but police budgets are municipal, not federal. Nikki Haley has no idea what she's talking about, and she just got fucking clowned. I love it. There's more. She added, utterly embarrassing that this woman was a governor, still doesn't have a grasp of public investment. Wonder if she says federal financing works like a piggy bank or a household too. Look, that is the biggest bullshit con that we have been told, right? That the government finances is just like a household. It's not. I can't go print money. Okay. Money printer does not go burr in my household. I mean, if it did, I would get arrested. So you can't do that. The government can. The government also has the reserve currency of the world. So meaning we're not borrowing from anyone else. And we're borrowing money from China. No, China is actually buying bonds. They're making an investment into the United States government for an eventual return. They can get a return on that investment. But literally, as long as we have the human capital, right? And as long as we have the resources, then we can print as much money as we want. That's kind of how it works. All right. And so, no, but the Republicans, they want to sell you that fantasy so they can say no to any sort of spending on poor people. And that's it. And that's it. And now apparently China is selling their U.S. bonds. So they don't want them anymore. Gee, I wonder why, according to the audience. But look, in another tweet, here's what she said. All this faux seriousness from folks who worship Trump for running the country like his casino. And in a separate tweet, she addressed all Republicans. Republicans are mad at this, and they literally just voted to do this back in March. The reason they're opposed to it now is because the last time they got a Wall Street bailout, and this time, all that's left is helping working people, the disabled, the poor, etc. It's almost as if they're opposed to, I don't know, helping poor people. Oh, right. It's because they are. And understand, it's not as if we can't come up with the money. We could cut the defense budget by like, a couple $1 billion and still be the most well-funded military in the entire world. Which again, for me, I don't understand why we need such a bloated military anyway. It is full of waste and inefficiency. I mean, we lost pallets of trillions of dollars in Iraq. So why do we need to just throw money into that fucking pit And then a lot of it, of course, gets used to bomb brown people anyway. I'm not in favor of that. No, cut that budget. Just cut it. Just cut it. And that's it. And we can, again, we have all the money that we need and all the resources that we need to take care of regular people. Okay? But here's the thing. They're not going to do that. And we know why. Again, we need stimulus that goes to workers, small businesses, and all that stuff. We need to cancel rent. We need to cancel mortgages. We need to put a stay on utilities and a $2,000 a month UBI for every person until this is over. Okay? Now, since we have some promising vaccines on the horizon, it's kind of the perfect time for us to hunker down and to give people money to survive to the end of the year and let the vaccines get manufactured and then spread around. And by the end of next year, we might be able to actually go back to our lives. Great. I can't wait. I can't wait. But again, that's really a political decision. Nikki Haley knows that we can afford to do this. Conservatives know that we can afford to do this, but they don't want to help poor people. They morally are against it. They don't believe in it. They believe that poor people are less than moral. They made bad choices, and that's why they're poor. It's a very Calvinistic, it's a very wealth equals morality point of view that is prevalent in the Republican Party. And so the irony, of course, is that in America, it seems to be like the less moral you are, the more chance you have of being a wealthy person. The more you're willing to crush workers, for example, stab people in the back, the more successful you tend to be. Again, look at who's president. Donald Trump's like the least moral person ever. He's always like stepping on people, breaking laws, all that stuff. And so the other irony, of course, is that every time Republicans try to come for AOC with bullshit gotchas, she hands them their ass. And yet they keep coming. They keep lining themselves up to get slapped, which is great. As opposed to, of course, people like Biden. So now Joe Biden, the problem with Joe Biden is that he's also not in favor of a shutdown. He's not in favor of Medicare for all. And too often than not, he will also agree with the Republican framing on these issues of spending. Oh, no, we can't run up the debt. We've got to be responsible. Well, are Republicans responsible? No, they spend like crazy. It's just that they give all the money to the rich and corporations. Whereas, again, progressives like AOC, Cory Bush, the Squad, Bernie Sanders want to give money to regular people to help them survive and to help them thrive. Again, hand up, not hand out. That's what it's about, to give people an even playing field. And unfortunately, people like Biden don't believe in that. And so he's already bent down to the Republican narrative on spending, on what we need to actually do to fight this pandemic and to come out on top. I hate that corporate Democrats are so freaking weak and that they won't challenge this. But I do love at least how we have people like AOC, Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman, Cory Bush, the Squad, because they actually do on these issues fight back. And we need much, much more of that. Okay. Holy shit. That's the show. Been a lot of viewers, so I want to thank all the new viewers for joining me today. Please like and share the stream. Please subscribe. Very helpful because we do shows every day of the week, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here, Waldorf Nation. Please sign up, subscribe, all that stuff. Thank you to my Twitch fam as well for joining in and all the chatting. Don't go yet. I don't have any stories left, y'all. And I got to get to editing. But, you can always join me when I do game streams on the weekends as well sometimes. I know it's a little random, but I do video game streams where, I'll do video games and politics as well if you're interested in that. So that said, if you just want to stick for the political stuff, 4 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, check it out, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Love you guys. Have a safe weekend. Stay safe. Stay sane. We'll get through this. January 20th is coming, and then we go for Biden. So prepare for that. Hold on to your asses. All right. See y'all on Monday around the nation.
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Amazing.
Tolerate. Mike Pounds. Burvicia, they say, pronounce it Burvicia. A real beautiful company.
Wet ass keyword.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out.